Janako, a police practice expert, believes the new policy is a step in the right direction.
Better understanding to officers about what Phoenix expects its officers to do or what the level of threat should be before they engage in force, including deadly force.
After the Justice Department accused the Phoenix Police Department of routinely using excessive force and discrimination, Phoenix Police added the terms necessary and proportional to its use of force policy. It's a change Janako agrees with.
Old policy talked about reasonableness, which is the constitutional standard. The new policy now requires, in addition, that any force used in response to any particularized threat needs to be necessary and proportional.
However, not everyone is on the same page. Ron Martinelli, another law enforcement practice expert, criticized the wording in the new use of force policy.
When you use words such as proportional and necessary, that not only are they vague and ambiguous, they're a subjective standard, and we cannot use in any court of law.
The Phoenix Police Department has been fighting an effort by the DOJ to take over oversight of the department. Police leadership say they've already carried out reforms, but Martinelli believes these changes to the use of force policy create an unsafe environment in a community already at odds over policing.
Who determines whether that's necessary? And that's where you get these political prosecutions.
Despite every officer or every employee within the department getting training on this new policy, about 90% of the more than 300 sergeants and lieutenants asked if they were well prepared for this new policy change said they disagree. Reporting live here in Phoenix, Alexis Dominguez for Arizona's Family.